welcome to the complete animation of Vix from Spark: A Space Tale. This movie took me completely by surprise. So, some of you might be aware, I have a personal goal of I want to eventually own and have watched every single animated feature film ever. That is a big goal, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job getting towards the goal. And this movie was mostly chosen to watch because of part of that goal. I did not expect much out of this movie. I didn't expect to enjoy the movie very much. I didn't think that it would offer that much in terms of, entertainment value. But here I am, and I really like this movie. And once again, this goes back to something I've said before. I very much dislike critics. I think that professional movie critics are completely useless for me. Absolutely useless. They are without value to me. Because this movie, it got terrible reviews. I don't even know what the Rotten Tomatoes is, but it was just panned. And I am so glad that I don't care about those things, because if I had went into this movie knowing the reviews, it might have changed how I feel about it. So the thing about this movie, Spark: A Space Tale, it starts off weak. It starts off really weak. The first 15, 20-ish minutes of the movie, you really don't like the main character. Spark is not the guy. And as I was watching, all I could think is, oh, so this is going to be a movie about, letting him grow up a bit. Well, I've seen movies like that before, and letting characters grow like that doesn't necessarily make it a good movie. But lo and behold, they did it. This movie pulled it off. Spark, he actually ended up being a character I really liked by the end. That is really hard to do. Take a character, make them unlikable at the beginning, and turn it around and make you enjoy it by the end. I am really impressed with how well this movie handled that. And I'm also impressed that they were able to have the twist in the middle where it's oh, actually, Spark, you are the prince. That you are the long lost prince of the kingdom. And I kind of feel silly about it, because it's they were dropping hints. The hints were there, and usually I'm pretty good about picking up the blatant hints that are being thrown around in movies to have that sort of foreshadowing. But bravo, Spark: A Space Tale, because you dropped the hints and it never really occurred to me. Ugh. And one of the things that I really like about this movie is its version of sci-fi. It's science fiction can go all over the place. And this little bit of character animation coming up really quick right here. She's just, ugh. She doesn't even she doesn't do anything more than just wince. Her shoulder has been dislocated, and she just pops it back in and doesn't even acknowledge the fact while she is reprimanding Spark. I'll talk more about Vix after I go into this sci-fi. So, science fiction has so many different flavors. There is your hardcore sci-fi, The Martian. The Martian is probably one of my favorite sci-fi movies ever. And it is hardcore sci-fi. The science basically said, yeah, this is possible. It would take a lot of money and a lot of work to get it done, but the stuff that they do in The Martian, it works. And then you have, sci-fi that's really just fantasy in space. And that's like Star Wars, where you literally have space wizards with laser swords. And so Spark, A Space Tale, it leans more towards, Star Wars, but it doesn't really have so much magic as it does just the world, where, you're on little planetoids, but it doesn't matter what the planetoid is. You're about 1 g of gravity. You can breathe in space, like no need for spacesuits. And so yeah, like that is the version of sci-fi that Spark has, and I like it. I like this version of sci-fi that Spark uses. And I wonder if there was anybody who said like, "Oh, the movie was ruined for me because of this kind of sci-fi." I especially like, the whole politics of it all. It's like planets are basically kingdoms, and the royalty and is the way the government works. Like, I like that. I like how this movie does its world building and everything. Now, let's talk about Vix. It's revealed later on in the movie that Vix was an officer in the military in the kingdom that Spark is the prince of. And she was told to basically, we're being invaded, a black hole is being thrown out around us. We need you to take the prince, who is a baby, and keep him safe. And I actually really like how they did all of that. I need to rewatch this movie beginning to end, because just like with Spark, the first time I saw this movie, when I first saw Vix, I was like, ugh, I don't really like her. But when you think about what's happening at the beginning, her entire job is to keep him safe. Keeping Spark safe is the most important thing for her to do. And it really leans into how she acts as a character. Like, she's sort of aloof and distant, and like doesn't let him do anything because letting him do something is dangerous. But when he finds out who he is, and he decides to take on the mantle of responsibility and actually, start living up to his birthright, she is visibly impressed. She goes along with his plans, she works with him, and it's like, if anybody was surprised of that Spark is able to do things, it's Vix. Because she never let him do anything, because she wasn't supposed to. But then when he did, she is just floored most of the time at what he is able to do. In fact, I think Spark is floored a bit. I can't remember what the pig friend's name is, but I think that he's probably actually the best character in the movie. He is, the big friendly guy, but that trope exists for a reason, and he does it very well. And let's see, I think that the villain uncle, is actually a pretty good part of this movie. Like, it's really hard to have some super spoiled, self-centered guy who feels like he's on top of the world. It's hard to have that kind of character work well a bunch of the time, but he does in this movie. Let's talk about this movie's visuals. This movie was made by, like, there were a lot of different studios in the credits. I feel like this movie had a lot of hands touch it. And those kinds of movies sometimes don't gel together visually, but I think that this movie, it works pretty well. Like, you can see where the corners were cut, like in the big crowd scenes. If you look close, you can see, oh, like, this one character extra is copy pasted a few times. And the fur is more simple, and the lighting is a touch flat. Like, this is not, a gorgeous movie, but it works. And I think that one of the things that this movie did really impressively is the art style, particularly for the monkey characters. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Talking animal movies, I feel like monkeys are kind of a wasted opportunity because monkeys are basically so close to humans and oftentimes they look kind of unnerving, uncanny, and whatever. Like people say the Polar Express has weird, uncanny stuff. I think that a bunch of movies with talking monkeys is more uncanny than anything the Polar Express ever pulled out of its back pocket. But in this movie, the monkeys actually look, fairly decent. In fact, I'd say that the queen, she actually has like an appealing character design. I really like her outfit, like the way her hair is done and her dress, good stuff. Speaking of outfits, I just want to say that Vix, at the end of this movie, she really cleans up nice wearing her entire uniform. It's like, I like the spiffy uniforms in militaries. It's like, when you go around in public and you see someone wearing their army fatigues, it's like, okay, I guess that's, technically a military uniform, but it's all like camo. But actual, like, nice looking military uniforms, I like those. I think that Vix's design is pretty good. I think what they did is they did what you're supposed to do, and the modelers based it off of the concept art, which you'll see at the end here. I got the concept art of Vix from the bonus features of the Blu-ray. And concept art is drawn in 2D, and in there, Vix's design works really well. But transitioning to 3D, it's a little strange. It works at some angles better than others. It's animated pretty well. One of the things that I do think is a lost opportunity with Vix's animation, is I feel like they don't use her ears very much. One of my favorite things about animated animals is when they use their ears as part of the way they emote. And really expressive ears, I think that is the, defining feature of good animation with animal characters, using ears to their fullest. And she just doesn't use them very much. They're pretty static in this movie, and I think that's just a lost opportunity. Let's see. Yeah, Spark: A Space Tale. I know that Saberspark made a video on it, but I deliberately try to not look at Saberspark videos until after I've thoroughly digested a video, because his opinions do affect me, and I would like to meet works on their own before having other opinions. Thanks for watching.